The garden walk is over, so I'm going to do a quick walk through all of my garden while it's still looking as good as it can for this time of year. This is the Shakespeare Street garden in our front yard. And then along the driveway are my veggie containers, also some datura, not an edible flower, it's poisonous. And I was slow in starting the veggies, so they're still small. And some herbs. Down at the end of the driveway here, I've got some brugmansia plants that I rotate onto the deck when they're in bloom. Got some herbs, different kinds of mint, lemon verbena, lemongrass, ginger. Got containers filled with potatoes here. And then on either side of the entrance to our yard are fig trees. Third one over here next to the potting bench and water barrels. I gave away some Bikino pepper plants, just a few left. Let me know if you want one. And then entering the garden here, first thing to the left is the Stratford cottage garden. I brought some of my little cottage teapots outside to join the one that is on this little garden stake here. And in the corner of this garden, I have the Midsummer Night's Dream Fairy Garden. Titania's home and her fairies and her bower. And over there, the way to Athens. Then, on the other side of the shed is the Slava Ukraini Victory Garden. It's decorated with antique tools all along the fence and sides. This raspberry bed is the next one that needs to be rebuilt. Here are herbs and edible flowers. And the strawberry bed and asparagus. I added asparagus in here earlier this season. This was the last one that was rebuilt. Got sunflowers growing in there too, plus borage, which sows itself. The next two beds here are tomatoes. In between each tomato, I am growing celery and then wax beans down the middle and cabbage on the corners of the beds. Green here. The other beds have purple cabbage. I've got 3 of the bean towers filled with green beans, and the bush beans on the side are going to be a dried bean, harvested dried black turtle beans. And I have room to plant more beans here where I had arugula and things growing. And then over here, Mrs. Green Beans has another type of bean growing up for her skirt. My lettuce is bolting, so that's going to come out. I'm also growing a few purple kohlrabi in here. And zinnias on the side for decoration. Got a lot of questions about amaranth in my garden. I've got different sunflowers in each bed. These aren't blooming yet, but they are elsewhere. Of course, the metal one's always blooming. And then here in the salad bed, I've got Malabar spinach growing, which fills our salads in the summertime when lettuce and spinach have bolted. This plant loves the heat. Swiss chard is loving the heat too. And back here, I'm growing actual cucumbers again. And then here behind Mrs. Green Beans, where I had snow peas earlier in the season, I am now growing cucamelons. They have self-sowed themselves every year since the first time I planted them. And then over here in the broccoli bed, I've got several broccoli, several more ready to harvest. I pulled out most of the radishes that had bolted. I left some for their seed. And I also have onions growing in between here and leeks over there, plus lacinato kale in both of these. So that's the kitchen garden. I haven't planted the bonus bed yet. This is going to get a fall crop, probably lettuce, spinach, things like that. Over here is the hugelkultur bed. I haven't harvested the garlic yet. I will soon, now that the walk is over. I have harvested a lot of the gooseberries, used them for pies. Blackberries are not ripe yet. They will turn black and sweet. I'm getting a lot of them. And then the black currant bush, it had some on it before, quite a few, but I didn't get to them in time for a harvest this year. And I'm still parking a grapevine here to use later in another spot when we get a little grape arbor built. My apple trees, this one here has got some cicada damage on it. These, I'm just demonstrating how you can protect them from bugs without spraying by using organza bags, or I've used Ziplocs when you cut the corner off to let moisture out. But I didn't get these covered really in time, because when they need to be covered, I'm usually planting my kitchen garden in May. And then here is the wishy-washy washerwoman garden. I've got some herbs in the laundry cart. I've got ornamental kale and cabbage in containers here. These are ground cherries down there. In the back against the pallet, I'm growing cucumbers, and in front of it, sunflowers. Here's a taller, different kind of sunflower. And then these in the tub sowed themselves, plus a nice big stand of lamb's quarters there, and lettuce in there. And then in the bed below, I have tatsoi in the front row. And in the back, the yellow flowers, that's from a little baby pak choi that is bolting. So I'm letting it go because the flowers are edible. Maybe I'll get some seeds. So anyway, this has been a fun garden to design and play with, using all my collection of these great laundry antiques, including this pump my husband restored for me. And then over here, this bed is in transition. I moved my little impatiens chair out here to cover up the spot where that awful creeping bellflower is coming in. It looked great before when I had chamomile looking fresher and the sweet William was blooming fully. Now it's looking more raggedy, and I'm thinking about what other things I could do with this bed. And then here are little rain boots welcoming you onto the deck to check out the whole container garden here. This brugmansia isn't quite in flower yet, but I am going to get a bunch of blooms soon. And everything here is looking great. I always fill the deck with containers because this is a lovely place to sit and relax with some coffee or tea. And I do have a lot more tea themed ornaments. Little blue pot, a teapot, and wind chimes are going. I have both metal ones and wooden ones up here. I've got an antique stove with vintage coffee pots. So that's the duck garden. Hummingbirds love this black and blue salvia. And then in this corner of the yard is where I started growing some hot colored plants red, orange, and yellow. My other gardens are all cool colors. But I named this the Sunrise Garden because those are sunrise colors. And then I am copying a fellow gardener who loves collecting blue and white things and gathering them together. So for me, the blue and white represents the sky and clouds during a sunset. A friend just gave me this beautiful agave statue from Mexico. But here's my first display in this garden of blue and white things. Even brought a little tea cart out here. So it's still a work in progress, but I'm happy with how it's looking. And then onto the Mackinac Island garden. Got a bike out in front and the Grand Hotel style rocking chair and geraniums on the other side of the arbor. My mantle. I have it set today with a different shade of blue and white. These are April Cornell items that I won from Victoria Magazine with some white dishes added. And there's my wave petunia potting party container, plus some of the bonus plants from there. Lots of great plants blooming here. Daylilies have been doing well. Liatris is starting to bloom. I've got some hibiscus that need to be potted up. And this side is shadier. Here's my little fish I got at Tanglewood Gardens last year in Minneapolis. Here's my shade container. Other things in the back here. And this little container got a lot of attention during the walk today. I made it during a library craft class last year. And then I got this little cute gnome guy. The only one I have. It's all I need. That's also from Tanglewood Gardens in Minneapolis. And a lot of these other things I got on Mackinac Island, of course. There is that flag in the corner there. And here, below the flower cart, is the Mackinac Cottage Fairy Garden. So, it's got a bike and geraniums too, and a little rocking chair thing there. Some seating areas, a gazebo. Got little mini hostas in here. These stones we collected off the beach in Mackinac Island. And I got the little bike stand from there too. And those geraniums are from the gift shop at the Grand Hotel. Thank you for joining me on this tour of my gardens.